Right, hey guys, how are we doing? Back on another video from Annie News. We've got some cut content from Tower of God Season 2. This season seems a bit slow, but seeing a trailer for the second half is making me feel a little bit more confident. I feel like they are trying to get through certain parts of said story to get to a better part. I think that's the thing. I don't know, I've not read the manhwa. But this was an interesting moment within this season. This guy called Urek turned up, and he seemed like a pretty big deal. And then he wasn't around for very long, but he seems like a big deal. So to see that there is a cut content video all about what Baam versus Urek could have been, and then to have it the strongest man in the tower, is like, wow. So let's see what the hell we got like cut out from this moment.
Alright, Season 2 hasn't really been the greatest, but hopefully I can make it better by filling in some of the gaps for you.
Please, yeah. It's not been awful, it's missing something, but I do feel like we're slowly building up to something. Bam needs to meet up with Kun and all the others.
I can't do anything about the early 2000s shonen style animation, but what I can do is
I
add
don't
much
mind
needed
it.
context that will liven up the story a bit. I even have this better animated version of the Baam vs. Urek fight for you.
No way.
So, if you want to know what it is that you're missing from the
That's so sick.
anime, stick around as I'll continue what I started last video. A thorough breakdown starting from right before the room test, working my way up to the epic showdown that could have been.
Cool.
It's everything you'd probably want to know to enjoy this story to its fullest. Let's get started. Now, given how far we are in the story, the room test really isn't all that important anymore. I mean, I could explain the rules and go over the conditions for Baam and the others winning, but what's really important is the move Wangnan made to ensure that he won. It was in this moment here when he gave Baam the remote that the connector inside was actually his. You see, Baam was gonna pass the test regardless.
Right.
By changing the connector from Love's to his own though, Baam stealing the room ensured him and all the others passed along with him. He had essentially tricked Baam into stealing the sixth and final room for them.
Oh.
Whether Baam knew or not is up for you to decide, but
Is
that's
that
how
an
all 8 of
open
them
to
ended up on a
interpretation
team
moment?
together.
That's cool.
The sweet and sour team, as we find out a little bit later. Not to be confused with Prince's recommendation of the Devil and I.
Devil and I.
Now, other minor details include aesthetic changes for the whole Baam vs. Love fight, the complete removal of pockets, which is the core item enabling player communication, an
Oh.
attempted fight between Prince and Rap Devil, then Love's disregard for Nia since people dying happened all the time during tests. There was also the reason for Rap Devil acting dead, which was to wait and see where the location of Prince's remote was. Yes, this was somewhat implied, but the remote itself was neither animated nor mentioned as the motivation for this scene.
Right.
Lastly, there was an additional interaction between Baam and Love, where after seeing Baam flawlessly recreate skills it took Love tens of years to learn himself, he couldn't help but think it'd be a waste to have him fail here, especially if he used his powers for good.
Oh, right. So he's seeing the potential in him. He's like, God damn, he's learning these things that took me years. Like, he could be something worth keeping around. I like how he's brushed over this to get it. It's cool. Cool, cool,
That's
cool.
why Baam didn't immediately fail when Love got the connector, since the offer to take teammates and reject Fug was still on the table.
Right.
Love was giving Baam one last chance here. Now, you may have thought Wangnan's change of heart here to be a bit abrupt, and that's because the actual reason behind it wasn't even mentioned. You see, the whole reason he wanted to forgive was because if he forgave Lurker here, then the ones who Nia tricked might forgive her too. This whole ladder of deception wasn't the result of any one single person, but was rather a product of the tower itself. So, Wangnan didn't think it right to blame Lurker for what had happened, since just like Nia, he too was a product of circumstance.
Right.
The tower just had a way of changing people for the worst. It was an unfortunate byproduct for those who chose to climb it.
That moment,
That's why
man.
Wangnan wants to change it, since no matter how foolish or impossible it may be, something needed to change within the tower. Even if he was betrayed thousands of times over,
I need to know what happens. But I know it obviously must happen within the manhwa, but I need to see it anime-wise. Bam, seeing Rachel. I need to know how that goes.
he'd still continue climbing in pursuit of that dream of his. It was after the test that there was a small bit of team bonding, most of which was Miseng and Goseng praising Wangnan. Arkraptor was staring off to the side, hinting at some sort of interest towards Wangnan in general. Now, it's here in the other scene with Love and the supervisor that they really missed the mark on why Love was so emotional. Reason being that it significantly understates the impact of what Love had done here. Not only did he botch a test in the way the floor ruler couldn't overlook, but his stunt with Fug's Slayer had already spread everywhere around the tower. He had inadvertently given Baam more publicity than Fug could have ever hoped for,
Right.
resulting in news that now gave criminals everywhere new motivation. This was all things Augustus would have to take responsibility for, which is why Love was so upset about it. His boss had decided to take all the heat for him. Moving on to episode 5 now.
The thing
This
is, though, didn't we then find out that he was also secretly part of Fug anyway, so we really wouldn't have been really minded.
He was by far the best episode of Season 2. Not only did it finally update us on what happened to everyone else from Season 1, but they didn't skip anything, which did absolute wonders for the pacing. I found myself genuinely entertained watching Kun interact with Rachel, especially when we find out he actually knows that she's lying to him.
Mate, what a moment. I was just like, wow, double twist, he knows. But obviously he doesn't know Bam's still alive. But
Then to see him put together this
maybe it's
all-star...
the moment with the phone is what I'm saying. Like, I feel like whenever I say things, I try and not spoil stuff for people that isn't aware. It's like, also, I need to cover myself because a lot of people think I don't know what I'm talking about. Which I don't, 9 times out of 10. But, yeah.
our team just to deal with her, well, that to me is so much more interesting than the stuff going on with Bam right now.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there isn't much to add with regards to...
He's not wrong. The stuff with Bam is very straightforward. He's just meeting new people and carrying on upwards. I want to know what's going on this side, but I feel like we're getting close to that.
the events of all this, but in the endnotes from the author, he did mention something interesting. It was a brief explanation behind the way time worked in the tower. So, while all this stuff with Kun did take place 6 years after the events of Season 1, in terms of how long that is with respect to us, it's actually only about 1 to 2 years.
Oh.
There's apparently fewer days in the years within the tower, making it so people live longer and time feels different.
Oh.
Then when someone finally becomes a ranker, that difference in their perception of time gets even bigger. It's a pretty complex topic that supposedly relates to something bigger.
That's really cool.
For now though, that's the basics of what you should know about it.
Okay.
Switching back to the story with Baam, there was a cut scene between Yiwa and her family member. A conversation that shed a bit of light on Yiwa's character while at the same time painted an image of how the tower perceives Baam and his party. The former is just Yiwa making it seem like everyone passed because of her, while the latter is another misconception in which the tower thinks Baam and his party are evil. Those were the two key things to take away from this. Fast forward to when Yiwa is trailing Baam, and the main reason she's able to find him at all is because she had registered his pocket for a tracking service. So long as a mutual agreement was made, her pocket and his are currently able to track each other. It makes it so that no matter where he goes, Yiwa would be able to find him.
Right.
It's when everyone goes to Baam's house after that the reason Fug chose him was finally explained to us. To make it as clear as possible, Baam's one of the few people capable of killing Jihad. You see,
Yeah, I kind of got that gist, but it's not fully explained. It's like, because he's from outside the tower, he is exempt to certain rules within it, isn't he?
since the contract between him and the Guardians makes him invincible to those within the tower, to kill him requires the power of an irregular who's in existence from outside the tower. As for Ha-Jin Sung, while he does come from the same family as Yuri, his position within ranks significantly higher. Then as a high ranker who's climbed the tower already, under normal circumstances he wouldn't be able to associate with Baam and the other regulars, but Hwa-Yun makes exceptions like that possible. It's all thanks to her specialty position as a guide.
Right, yeah, I was
Not to
thinking
mention
that's the
being
guide.
Fug makes rules like that non-applicable to them anyway. Now, Baam's true identity came as quite the shock, far more to the Wangnan from the manhwa. Viole being an irregular wasn't something he could just simply disregard like that. A minor detail left out from the flashback was the way Fug established its method of tracking everyone. You see, right before Baam's old party left to go to the next floor, Yu gave them a ring as a sort of memorial gift. This could serve as a memorial of their accomplishment, or more importantly, a memorial of Baam. Either way, it's an important memento they're unlikely to give away to anyone. That being the case, they were the perfect items to also serve as tracking devices, a clever method of knowing exactly where all of them were. It's why Yu is able to threaten them so easily.
Right.
This obviously didn't sit well with Wang Nan, but the way Hua Yun challenged his ideals was rather interesting. She mentions how sympathy and justice aren't always the answer, a direct confrontation to everything Wang Nan supposedly fights for. To her, anyone can talk about justice, but until she sees Wang Nan doing otherwise, he's pretty much no different from them.
Yeah, like actions.
They're both using
speak
Baam's
louder
power
than
to
words
achieve their
within
goals.
a thought
So,
process.
with all that said, there's three main questions that need to be asked now. Why is Fug trying to kill Jahard? How did Jahard become the king of the tower? And why does Murchia want to make Baam a slayer? The story is one that revolves around Jahard and the 10 great families, so these underlying questions are just some of the core plot starting points. Obviously, we won't get answers to them for a while, but they are good to keep in mind as you continue the series. Small hints towards their answers are given all throughout the story. Fast forward now to the day of the test, and in addition to the initial stage being shown, there were a bunch of little things left out from the next. Small details and minor comments that really add life to each of the characters. Prince and Kang can be seen playing in the background. Yiwa was trying to be serious yet putting on tanning oil.
Right.
Wang Nan was complaining about how the test was so ridiculous, then Goseng actually believed it to be quite fun. She was also worried about the others, but the groups they split up and were far stronger on Baam's side. Now, for a bit of context on the test itself, it wasn't so much the flower that the supervisor was after, but rather the jewel that the flower is known to produce.
Oh, okay.
You see, the color of that jewel was so incredibly unique that its limited existence made it considered to be both rare and beautiful. Its value stems from both those attributes, along with the fact it can only be found within the endangered Zagena. So, it's that jewel which Baam and the others needed to find. Naturally, it made sense to split up, so that's what they did by separating into two teams here. If you're wondering how Prince and Kang ended up on their own too, it's just because they went in ahead while Baam met up with Yiwa. She had swam away by herself, not noticing that Kang was carrying the rest of them.
Right.
Now, before we get into the whole encounter with Urek, there were a lot of role-specific abilities that were highlighted here. Goseng used flow control to manipulate Shinsu with her lighthouse, while Miseng used her observer to keep track of the pig's location. Both were used in combination with the others, since synergy like that was completely standard for regulars here. It may not seem like it when compared to Baam, but to make it to floor 20 is no minor accomplishment. So even if one or two of them did get mostly carried, the weakest members of Baam's team still aren't completely useless. We also saw Prince use what's called Triple Field, which is pretty much flow control just with a new name that he made up. It essentially restricts movement by controlling the flow of Shinsu from around the lighthouse, something only possible when a target is within the lighthouse's infield. Now, this is when Urek makes his entrance, which, to be fair to the anime, is done, I guess, accurately enough, but
Okay.
the intensity and atmosphere that should have come along with it was definitely more on the lackluster side. I mean, it's not often we get to see a literal top 5 ranker, so the pressure this man should be exuding needs to be immense.
Oh, right.
The manhwa had him slowly emerge from the corpses of the parasites he just meteor slammed, which is a
Oh.
far cry from the static pans of these two shots.
Yeah, okay.
His presence was so perceptibly superior too that Kang could tell he was stronger just by sensing the way Shinsu flowed around him. It was immediately clear that Urek didn't belong here. The conversation after went pretty much the same, but for Kang, he believed all this was a setup by the test supervisor. To him, he thought they were trying to set Baam up, and that led him to reveal Baam's position as a Slayer candidate. This was what piqued Urek's interest in Baam, and is likely the reason Urek even chose to entertain him in the first place. As expected, such a fight was incredibly brief, but a lot could have been done to better highlight the fact Urek is, well, Urek. Yes, the fight did
Yeah, like, I didn't quite get the gist of how big of an importance this guy is. It seems like he's really freaking important.
It captured the events as it happened in the manhwa, but that's pretty much all it did. Normally, I'm not the one to complain, but when the mobile game has a cinematic looking like this, I can't help but think of what could have been.
Oh.
I understand not every anime can get the Jujutsu Kaisen treatment, but for a series as prominent as Tower of God, I'm expecting something more than what's pretty much slightly dynamic manhwa panels.
Yeah, oh, mate. So, wow, okay, I see what you're saying. So, I thought he had someone maybe animate, or maybe he found like a fan animation. But the game, the mobile game, Oh dear, has a better animated version of the fight, right?
especially with Season 1 setting the baseline for it.
Hmm.
Like, just take a look at the type of vibe Urek gives off both here and in the manhwa. As soon as he sees Baam actually wants to fight, a whole different, even more aggressive side
Yo,
of
look at that face. Oh my god, that's scary.
him comes out. It's made clear that whatever Urek's about to do next, it's him not holding back anymore. A shift in tone that sets the stage for his Super Inferno punch against Baam's Flare Wave explosion.
Yo.
An extra touch I'm particularly fond of from the cinematic is the way Urek keeps his hands in his pockets here.
Yeah,
It's
so
such a chill and
chilled.
nonchalant way of fighting
Yes, that is so cool.
that really highlights how he perceives all this. At least
Whoa.
up until Baam proves he's actually worth fighting. Getting
Yo, I love it.
back to the cut content now, there isn't much else to really comment on, but there was visible fear on these three when they first approached Urek. Having just watched Baam get demolished, though clearly afraid to step up and fight, they did so anyway because Baam was their teammate. It was this courage that resonated with Urek, leading him to leave behind the flower for them. But yeah, that's pretty much all that I wanted to talk about for this one. I saw all your comments on the last video, so I figured it was time to make a new one. If you want another, then just keep letting me know, and if you liked what you saw, then leave a like. Also, let me know what your thoughts are on Season 2 so far. I'd love to see some of your opinions too. But anyway, as always, thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this type of anime content, then you already know what to do. So until next time, ciao.
Yeah, like, I am enjoying it. It's just not as enjoyable as season one. It seems very slow for a second season. Like, season one, I think that was better paced, even though there was cut content to cover for every single episode. I remember in 2020, like during lockdown, reacting to every single cut content video every week as the episodes were coming out. But then, yeah, a trailer came out either today or yesterday, like announcing that there's a new artist doing the ED and OD, the opening, endings, themes for the next arc, which starts in October. So I feel like it's just continuing into the next season, which is cool. And a lot of people were like, let's hope where the story is gonna kick off. So I'm hoping like they're trying to just get to that bit. Like with Shield Hero, the last season wasn't amazing, and people said they're just trying to get to the next part of the story, but it's just. But anyway, thank you to my patrons. If you want to have your name at the end of every video and want to be able to watch Patreon-only reactions, such as the original Dragon Ball series, the link is in the description to the Patreon page. $1 a month is all they ask to help support channels. Greatly appreciate it. Thanks for that. Thank you all for watching. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave comments down below. Let me know what I should watch and discuss in future videos. I'll see you guys next time.